we are here to look at some text functions. We're going to start with the left function in this lesson. And we are going to use these to kind of manipulate what we get to see. You're not adding per se or finding average or highs and lows with these text functions. You're essentially manipulating what displays from them. So left would work from left to right based on the number of characters you decide you want to display. Right is going to work from right to left, and mid returns the number of characters from the starting point. Mid is kind of confusing because it sounds like it would start in the middle, right? Well, it's not really going to work like that. It's going to essentially pick whatever letter or start with whatever letter based on the character you tell it to start with. So that's one of those ones that's probably better off to kind of show you than try to explain it. And then the other one we'll do in this one is the trim function, which removes spaces at the beginning and the end of text. So we need to use the 10 Fabricam alarm code file in this lesson. And we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna be using text functions. And when you get files from other people or programs, you often have to manipulate them. Even when we go from Excel to Sheets, or especially when I take a Word document and I convert it over to a Google Doc, it gets all messed up. But the same thing happens when you go from, say, Google Doc to a Word document. You get all this extra spacing in there. And there are functions in Excel that can help clear that up when you're, say, going from Sheets to an Excel document. So sometimes you receive files in a text format, such as commas separating what should be columns. Some of the text can be combined into one string, or other text into lowercase and uppercase, which we'll see in the next video. But Excel uses some other things like proper, upper, and lower functions to capitalize letters based on, depending if you're doing proper, which would be like a title case, upper, which would be all uppercase, and lower, which would be all lowercase. So that's some more text functions we'll look at here. But it says that we are going to look at this section, and we're going to use text files from the alarm company. There's a lot of useful information in this file. It is coded for an alarm system rather than the use in a spreadsheet. We're going to convert the information to a usable format. So essentially it's coming in not the way we want it to make it usable, and we're going to make it usable with these text functions. You can use Convert Text to Columns wizard to separate simple cell content into different columns. Depending on how your data is organized, you can split the cell content based on the delimiter, which of course, remember, is the divider, the symbol that would normally be the column. It just becomes a symbol instead in the format that you are using it in previous to Excel. So we are going to start with this function called text to columns. So I will see people my age that will take information, as we're going to see here in the 10 alarm file. I'm going to download this real quick. And you will see them instead of, how do I want to say this? Instead of doing what I'm about to show you, they take and copy and paste or retype everything, and never, ever, ever should you do that. So convert text to columns. So we are looking at 10 Fabricam alarm codes, and I need the first one. I'm going to come back to this one in just a second. So I'm going to go back here to my Google Classroom, and I am going to do this first one here. Okay, So in this file, we see everything kind of lumped together, okay? It imported with delimiters, comma delimiters, to separate each information. So if I look at cell A2, I see all this information in my formula bar. If I press tab, I'm in B2. It looks like all this stuff is in here. Remember, it's really not, it's just spilling over, because if I look at the formula bar, there's nothing there. So somehow this got, created, and when it imported incorrectly, and all these commas should really be new columns. And we're going to take care of this right now with a command on the data tab. So I'm going to select the range A2 to A8, and I'm going to go to the data tab. And in data tools, there's this thing called text to columns. I'm going to click on that, and it says Excel can convert only one column at a time. The range can be many rows tall, but no more than one column wide. So what it's saying here is you selected too much stuff. I could do this, or I could do this, but I can't do this. And not that I should have had B selected anyway, because everything's really in A. So I should have selected A2 to A8. Then click on text to columns, and the dialog box comes up. So it's nice because it'll tell you it can't work. All right, so your two choices on this first screen of the wizard is to convert it from delimited or fixed width. So delimited says characters such as commas or tabs are separate each field. Or fixed width, fields are aligned in columns with spaces between each field. Well, I see commas. I don't see nice aligned columns. So I'm going with delimited. All right. And down here is like a little preview box for you. And it should simulate what the spreadsheet's going to look like, but it's not always 100%. So I see commas in between each one of these, or some kind of symbol. So I am going to assume that each one of those means it should be a new column. Press next. Then you get to say which of the symbols are used to separate each thing. So if I'm looking at the data, I see commas, right? So my assumption is that each one of these is using a comma to separate it. So I don't want, I'm going to press comma here to indicate that that is the symbol that is separating my information. I'm going to deselect tab because it's not tabs. And down here, look, now I go from lined information, or a hot mess, if you will, to information that is separated into columns, because every time I picked up a comma, it said, oh, that's supposed to be a new column. Go ahead and do so. So I'm going to press next. And on this screen, I could click on each one of these. I could format them the same as I could on the home tab and the number group. I think it's much easier to do it that way. So I'm just going to ignore this step right now, and I'm going to press finish. And now I see my information organized into beautiful, columns. Not perfect, but much better, and surely rebeats typing everything. So it says the data is separated into 7 columns. And to help identify the columns, we're going to type in some row headings, and then we're going to apply some row heading styling from previous lessons that we learned about. So I'm going to scroll down here so I can see what I was supposed to be typing. And we are going to type in EXT code EMPID, and I might have to toggle back and forth here just to remember exactly. Actually, here's what I'm supposed to type in. So for the saving of time, I'm going to just copy this over, and I'm going to paste it in here just to help us out. And then I'm going to go back to the home tab, because if you remember, cell styles is under the home tab, and we are in the styles group, and they want us to apply heading 3, which is what's already selected. So then it tells us to display all the content correctly by width. So essentially they're asking you to auto fit. So I'm going to select all of them, double click on one of them, and they all auto fit at the same time, or best fit. Okay, so I was supposed to type all this in, but to save myself a little bit of time in terms of this video, I just copied and paste. But remember, you go to the styles group on the home tab to change the cell styles to one of those predefined choices that we talked about in one of the previous lessons. So that is text column is under the data tab. And it is a great way, instead of retyping things, essentially when they do not come in correctly for whatever reason. It could be going from a non-Excel file to an Excel file. Just download issues happen sometimes, conversion issues. It's very much like our importing that we did back here in lesson 9. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at is the left function. Okay, the left function evaluates a string and takes as many of the characters from the left, so it works from left to right, that you indicate. So the syntax is here, left and the number, the text and the number of characters that you indicate. So pretty straightforward in the scheme of things that we work on here in this class. So with that said, I am in H1, okay, and I'm going to type in a column heading EXT, and then I am going to go to I1, and they want us to type in floor, and then they want us to select H2. Notice that it picks up that we are adding to what's already there, and it applies that heading, which is a pretty cool idea as well. All right, so in H2, we are going to go to the formulas bar, and these are text functions, so they're underneath text, and we're going to find left. They have 2 arguments. What text am I using, and how many of the characters from that text am I using? Okay, so with this one, they tell us that we are going to be using text from A2. Okay, so this 42500NP15210, we're using that. Okay, so that's the cell we're using. How many of the characters do I want to use? Now, it does tell us it returns a specified number of characters from the start of the string. So I'm telling you it's working left to right. So start just means left to right. Specifies how many characters you want from the left to extract. If you omit it, if I don't put anything here, it uses 1. Okay, so if I was to have pressed OK, it would put 4 in here because 4 is the first character. Okay, and then they tell us that we want to use 3 of the characters. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to type in 3. So we get 425, and that's the first 3 characters moving from left to right in cell A2 because that's the cell that I specified. All right. So it says that we are going to fill this down. So I'm going to double click and fill it down. And remember, these are the first 3 characters of each one of these. I didn't want to lock anything in because I wanted A2 to become A3. And it shows us what cell we are using here. All right. Now they want us to go to cell I2 and try out recently used. And I can see that it is here. Left is here. So I'm going to click on it and use that again. So again, what cell contains the text? How many characters do I want moving from left to right? If I leave it omitted, it is going to just use 1 character. All right, so it tells us again to use A2 for our text. And this time, we are going to type in 1. And I'm going to press OK. Now I have 4. So this is my extension. My extension is the first 3 letters, essentially. And then also what this coding means is that the floor number is here. Remember, this is for an alarm code. So this would tell me that David's on the 4th floor. Tells me that Kim is on the 3rd floor. Lynn is on the 3rd floor, so on and so forth. So I'm just breaking down this code, if you will. All right, so I am going to save this real quick. And we have 10 Fabricam alarm code solution. And I'm all set there. All right, so the next thing we're going to learn about is the right function. So the right function is going to do the opposite. The right function is almost identical to the left, except it returns the number of characters on the right and moves to the left. Okay, so in the alarm codes file, the first converted columns contain the 5-digit employee ID number at the end of the alarm code in column E, and contains the birth month. All right, so I'm going to come back here, and I am going to go to cell J1. I'm going to type in birthday. And I'm going to press tab, and I'm going to type in EMP lowercase and then capital I and capital B. And I'm going to press enter, and it goes down to me to J2. It also takes in the cell style formatting because it's picking up that it's probably going to be the same. If I wanted to fix that, I could go fix it manually. All right, so under formulas, again, text is the function library. I'm going to click on write, and this is the same. What cell has the text? How many characters do I want? Except for I'm going right to left with this one. So I am using the text from E2 this time. And I can also type in E2 if I wanted to. Caps doesn't matter. Okay. And I am using a number of characters, the 3 characters at the end. So it's the last character, the second last character, and the third to last character. It moves from right to left. And that is the APR. And if I double click and I fill it down, I see APR, MAR, August, December, July, Jan, and May. And it's taking the last 3 characters of this one. It goes from right to left, okay? And then it puts it in there. All right, filled it down. Now we're going to go to K2. And I am going to click on FX this time. And I am going to type in right. And I am going to press OK once it finds it. And this time I'm using the information from A2, and I want 5 of the characters, okay, to get their employee ID because this is technically their employee ID number in A2. Press OK. Fill it down. I don't need to lock anything in because I want A2 to become A3, A4, so on and so forth. All right, I'm going to press save. The next one is the mid, and don't let that name deceive you. So mid returns characters in the middle. It doesn't necessarily have to be the middle, though. Arguments need to include the text string and then the starting point. So the mid is you're picking the starting point, which could be in the middle or anywhere within the function. So they're probably just going to come up with a better name than mid, and because anywhere probably doesn't sound about right to make as a function name. And the number of characters. The first column in the alarm file, there are codes indicating 2 different categories of employees. All right. So we're going to come back here, and we are going to go to L1. And in L1, we are going to type in EMPCAT1. And then I'm going to press tab, and then I'm going to type in EMPCAT2. And I'm going to press enter, and the formatting comes along. Again, I'm just double checking that because you never really know. Now, I could come over here and I can go to the home tab and I can go to cell styles and I can pick heading 3 if I want to, okay? If it did not just apply. All right, so I'm in L2. I am going to the formulas ribbon. Is also, again, a text function, and I'm going to pick mid here. All right, so I have text, starting number of characters, and number of characters. So the starting number is the only difference between the last ones that we did. So my text, where contains the text? This one is A2, okay? And then once I'm in A2, where do I want to start including the numbers from? And they tell us that we want to start from the 4th character from the left. Okay, once I have started from that 4th character from the left, how many do I want to include? How many characters? I want to type in 2. Okay, so if I press OK, I see double O's here. So I went over 4, remember, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then once I got there, 1 and 2 were the characters that I used. I'm going to fill this down. So for the next one, I went over 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the S, and I included the S and the A because that is 2 characters. Same thing down here, 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 and here. Okay. So it's not really the middle, right? We would consider this more to be the middle. It's just meaning it's not going to start at the left and it's not going to start at the right. It's going to start wherever you want it to be based on what number you put in there in the starting point argument box. All right, so now we're going to do that again, and we are going to be in M2 for that one. And I'm going to click on Insert FX, and I'm going to type in mid, so just lots of different ways to go about this. And I'm going to press OK. Now it says, where does the text come from? Again, it comes from A2. But this time, I'm going to say the starting point is the 6th character, and once I'm there, pick 2 of the characters. All right? So text is where you're going to get the answer from. How many over do you want to go? 1 is obviously starting for the first character to the left, so it does work left to right in terms of the starting point. And how many characters once I have found that. So this one is MP, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is N, includes 2 of those characters, N and P. Fill this down. Next one's N and P, so on and so forth. Pressing save. All right, so the last one that we are going to use is the trim function. All right, so I am in cell N1, and I'm going to come over to my PowerPoint, and with the trim function, sometimes there's extra spaces at the end or at the beginning, and we could go in and individually delete. We could do the first one and do a flash fill also if we wanted to, or we can use this trim function as well. Now, I also need to show you something else so I don't forget when we're all set with this. So I am going to go to N1. I'm going to type in first. I'm going to press tab, and I'm going to type in last. Okay. And again, if for some reason that did not pick the right heading, I could just click on it and it would convert it over as well. All right. So now I'm in N2. And I am going to go to the formulas ribbon. I'm going to go to text, and I scroll down, and there is trim. Okay. One argument. What cell contains the spaces? That's it. That's all you have to pick from. Ours, since we're in the one for first, is this one here, B2. And you got to kind of know, if you look here, see how these two Ds aren't aligned? So that means there's a space in front of here. And then here's where those double quotation marks come in. It's double quotation, there's the space, David. And then we see with how it's going to be is double quote, no space, David, and then a double quote. And I press OK. So I'm not really going to see a difference. But if I come over here and I click on Kim and I look up at my formula bar and I move my cursor left and right, or my arrow keys left and right, there's a space there. It's just a trained eye thing. Okay. But this is one way to get rid of the space. So I'm going to fill it down, and there it is. Now, these are all functions, right? So if for some reason you didn't want it to be a function anymore, I could press Control C, and I could come over here, go to the Home tab, drop down Paste, and I could paste in the value, and then press Enter, and it would go away. Look up here at the formula bar. It's no longer the trim function. It's just David. So after you're done doing all this, if you don't want it to be the function anymore, copy it and paste the value. I'm going to do that maybe. And it's all back. Okay. So now I'm going to do the same thing for last. And I'm going to go to the formula bar, and this time I'm going to click on FX. I'm going to type in trim, and I am going to press OK. And under last name, which is C2, contains the spaces. Again, it's starting at the beginning. It could have been at the end, but these are all at the beginning. Press OK. And it is now without the space. So pretty easy. It gets rid of the space before and end. Just pick the and or the end. Just pick the cell that has the spaces. Go to press save. All right. Thank you. Be back soon.